Okay, people, so today we are going to talk about Mansa Musa, the legendary so called most richest man in the world, was an African. This is the person who everybody talks about the most. He was a very rich man, according to legends. But is Mansa Musa worth bragging about? I don't know. Let's see. If you're going to talk about as far as financial status, then yes, Mansa Musa is worthy of being bragged about. You could say one of the richest men ever to exist in the world was a black African from West Africa. You could say that. On another hand, was Mansa Musa was his presence good in Africa? Well, I don't know. We're gonna investigate that. See, Mansa Musa was a devout Muslim. Everything he did was geared towards influencing Islam upon as far out as he can. His goal was to further Islam. That's what Muslims do. That's what their whole goal is to influence others into becoming Muslims. That's what they do. So here. Okay, in Timbuktu, which Musa added to the empire in 1325, he completely changed the city. He built the world famous Dijengumbur Mosque, which still stands today. He also founded the University of Sankor. This became one of the largest centers of Islamic learning in the world. Experts in law, astronomy, and medicine taught there. By the end of Musa's reign, it had 25,000 students and one of the largest libraries in the world with over a million manuscripts. Musa turned the Mali Empire and Timbuktu in particular into a major trading site. Traders from across Africa, the Islamic world, and many European cities like Venice traded there. This became one of the greatest centers of Islamic learning. You see, people always want to talk about, oh, well, we had one of the greatest schools in the world but before it got destroyed. Timbuktu wasn't shit but a learning center for Muslims. Timbuktu it wasn't filled with books from African sacred knowledge, from any of the traditional beliefs or none of that shit. Timbuktu was just a bunch of fucking Arabic scripts, a bunch of Qurans and Hadiths. That was it. Timbuktu was for Muslims to go to continue their education in Islam. That is it. That is what Timbuktu was for. It was for further educating Muslims on Islamic literature to further spread out. That's what Timbuktu was for. At its peak, Timbuktu's Islamic Sankara University hosted 25,000 students who studied literature, philosophy, religion, and science. Natural science, geography, and medicine were also important areas of study for these scholars. Many of them traveled across the region to learn the prestigious institution. The Grand Mosque of Dijengiber, or whatever it says, Sankor and Sida Yehia, shown over the city, still exists centuries later, showcasing the dominant and lasting effect Islam had on the region. Timbuktu existed for much of its history not as a sub Saharan or black African community, but instead as an Islamic center, more in line with other Middle Eastern cities. Let's read this again. Timbuktu existed much of its history not as sub-Saharan or Black African community, but instead as an Islamic center, more in line with other Middle Eastern cities. So this place that y'all like to brag about, Timbuktu, it wasn't in line with sub-Saharan or Black traditional beliefs or anything like that. This was just a center for Islamic learning, just like any other Middle Eastern city. That is all. Timbuktu, this whole university, it was just for Muslims only. So no, Mansa Musa didn't do Africans a favor. No, not at all. He did Muslims a favor because that's what he was trying to do. He was trying to further influence Islam upon all of West Africa as far as he can. Those were his plans. And you can look around the world today and that places where Islam rules and see how good that turns out. So thank goodness that didn't happen. Thank goodness the Moroccans came with their muskets and they destroyed the place and they looted it and did whatever. Thank goodness. It's already bad enough over there. What kind of books did Timbuktu have? Key texts of Islam, including Qurans, collections of hadiths, actions and sayings of the Prophet, Sufi texts, and devotional texts. Works of the Maliki school of Islamic law. Texts representative of the Islamic sciences, including grammar, mathematics, and astronomy. For the most part, however, Musa was able to avoid serious conflicts over religion, primarily because he was so strong a ruler and an effective administrator. His armies were constantly active, extending the power of Mali throughout the region. Basically, that means keeping other people in line, terrorizing them. Even while he was away on his pilgrimage to Mecca, they captured a stronghold of the powerful Songhai nation of the East. Eventually, his empire would control some 40 million people, a population two-fifths the size of Europe at the time, over a vast region nearly the size of the United States. Mansa Musa was Musa's devotion. Okay, hold on, let's start up here. Musa's devotion to Islam put him at odds with other groups in Mali who maintained the traditional African religions. Those religions were pagan, as they said, meaning that they involved many gods, most of whom had some connection with nature. For instance, a sun god. The conflict between Islam and traditional religions was a serious one and had helped lead to the downfall of Ghana, whose kings had tried and failed to bring two religions together. So till this day in Mali, the Islamists, the extremists, jihadis, they are there fighting against the let's say the traditionalists of Mali, the Dogon. Till this day, these people are still fighting. They are still trying to force Islam upon people in Mali until this day. That is what Mansa Musa was trying to do. Mansa Musa was just there to try to use his power and money to further establish and spread Islam in the region. They have been fighting since that day, and they are continuously fighting now to this day. Some of the Muslims of Mali, and some of the non-Muslim Africans of Mali who practice the traditional religions, like the Dogons and probably some others. This conflict between Islam and traditional religions was a serious one and had helped lead the downfall of Ghana, whose kings had tried and failed to bring the two religions together. Of course, because Islam cannot coexist with any other religion. Islam stands alone. It cannot exist side by side with any other religion without war. Everywhere Islam goes, terror follows. In my other video, that was where I talked about how Islam isn't for black people. One of the chiefs in Ghana, he's on there talking about how this part is true. The Ashanti people, they came from Mali. They migrated down from Mali after the war because they said that the new religion, Islam, that came, and they was trying to force everybody to convert, and it was war, and I guess they lost or whatever the case may be, and they didn't want to conform to Islam, so they moved south into present day Ghana. So this is true. So all of this is true. This is Mansa Musa. Yes, he was a very rich and powerful man, but also Timbuktu was just a Muslim learning center for Muslims to for of Islamic literature. That is all. So there's nothing valuable in Timbuktu for you to cry or feel sad over. It's just a bunch of Arabic books about the Islamic religion. That is all. Mansa Musa just wanted to spread Islam as far in the region as he could. That's it.